It is Nunes versus Shevchenko 2 on the Sherdog Radio Network. Hey, everybody, TJ DeSantis. That was me. You are you. This is the Sherdog Radio Network. Flying solo on a Saturday evening. If you want to give us a ring, we have a new phone number. It is 323-364-2199. That is 323-364-2199. And if you get a voicemail, leave a message and I'll call you back. We'll walk through the spider webs. All right. Amanda Nunes, still your UFC women's bantamweight champion. She defeats Valentina Shevchenko. Split decision goes the way of the American Top Team product. It was a fight that I don't want to say it left anything to be desired, but it definitely wasn't a fight that you wanted for the main event. It was strategic. It was intriguing. It was interesting. I'm surprised that the judges were split on it. I thought it was pretty clear, 48-47. I mean, as much as a 48-47 can be clear, because, I mean, it's only one round apart. But I thought Amanda Nunes won that fight pretty handedly. Judges split, though, and Nunes does get it done. Valentina Shevchenko, very adamant in her post-fight speech that she thought that she did enough to get it done, citing the red nose of Nunes, saying, look, my punches, they worked. Yeah, sure, I guess. But there wasn't a lot going on, and the people in Rogers Place also weren't too thrilled with what took place over the course of 25 minutes. I've got notes. We'll get into them now. Obviously, we should start at the top. Demetrius Johnson was unable to fight Ray Borg due to Borg pulling out of the contest because of an illness. I spoke to Anthony Walker about this on Friday's edition of Beatdown, which was also the roundtable, and asked him his thoughts on, was Borg really sick, or did he think it was a weight-cutting issue? I guess you have to take the fighter at his word, but I mean, Ray Borg had issues cutting weight before, pulled out of a fight, unfortunately, for whatever reason, was not able to fight Demetrius Johnson here tonight. And I wish, after we saw what we saw over the course of 25 minutes in our main event with Nunes and Shevchenko, I wish that we had another fight. I mean, I'm in the mood to watch fights, and unfortunately, it's already over. But what are you going to do? All right, so let's talk about it. Nunes versus Shevchenko 2. It was your main event. I didn't hate the fight, but walking away from it, I don't feel like it was everything that we wanted it to be. John Anik was giving it the hard sell, saying it was one of the most anticipated matchups of 2017. And I mean, I guess he's right. We were supposed to see it in July, and we didn't. So we sort of anticipated it happening. And then we finally get it tonight. And, yeah. I mean, it wasn't all that. I mean, it wasn't Jones, Cormier 3. Or, yeah, 2. Man, how many times has the fight been scheduled? How many times has it happened? All right, so pretty even fight here in our main event. I thought that when you look at these two fighters, we all knew the narrative, right? You got to weather the storm from Nunes early, and then in the latter part, she's supposed to fade, and Shevchenko could take over. It's good on paper. Nunes was fresh. I mean, I think after the third round, she was screaming and hollering. She was so confident in what she had done. I mean, cardio was not an issue. By any means, cardio was not an issue. And I'm curious, if cardio wasn't an issue, was it because Nunes was that much more improved, or did Shevchenko really not push her? I would love to talk to Valentina and figure out what the actual game plan was in this fight, because She countered, and at times she even countered effectively. But if you're going to rely on the gas tank of Amanda Nunes failing, you need to do something to make her have some exhausting output. And that just wasn't the case. Now, Nunes was aggressive, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't aggressive in the manner that was really taxing to her. I mean, she pressed forward. She threw a lot of push kicks to the body. She did have some nice 1-2 combinations, but you need to have Nunes take some of the offensive output that you have and have that wear on her. Shevchenko did not target the body nearly enough. She did not really try to initiate a takedown until I think the 4th or 5th round, where she went for that headlock throw, which was ill-advised to say the least. Nunes didn't get tired because she really didn't do anything that was really all that exhausting. When I look at Nunes' output, again, she was aggressive, but it wasn't an aggression that was super taxing on her body. So while she checks the box of can Amanda Nunes be effective in championship rounds, I really don't know what would happen if someone was able to put it on her. For the most part, for a 48-47 fight, I thought that this was largely one-way traffic. I really thought that Amanda Nunes was very aggressive. The rounds that she did drop, she was still very aggressive, but was more emotional. Shevchenko was able to land some shots, force Nunes to be a bit more aggressive. And when Nunes was more aggressive, maybe reaching a little bit on her strikes, Shevchenko wasn't able to capitalize on that either. She would effectively counter-strike initially, and then Nunes would get more emotional and throw bigger shots, throw more shots in volume, and that's when Shevchenko needed to capitalize, and she just couldn't do it. Credit to Amanda Nunes. I thought she did a fine job fighting her fight. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't aesthetically appealing, I think, for a lot of people, especially inside Rogers Place. Dan Cormier started doing the whole, these fans don't know what they're watching, therefore they're booing. And then Rogan kind of shit on that and was like, no, I think they're drunk, which, I mean, there's something to that. But can we just stop the narrative of apologizing for the fans booing? I mean, if you bought this pay-per-view, I mean, even if Demetrius Johnson and Ray Borg were fighting, if you bought this pay-per-view, you know what good mixed martial arts is. You're a hardcore fan, okay? You don't need to be told what the finer points of mixed martial arts are. I didn't like tonight's commentary booth. I really didn't. I think Anik's great. I think he's the best play-by-play man out there. I'd like to think that I'm one of them as well. So I hope that my opinion is validated at some point here with you. But the three-man booth is just hard. And then Dan Cormier, I like DC. I like DC's analysis, but he gets goofy sometimes, man. Like, the whole narrative, too, of, Superwoman punch. Stop calling it a Superwoman punch. Superwoman did not throw a punch like that. Superman did. Just because the fighter throwing it is a woman doesn't mean you change the Superwoman punch. You change it to a Superwoman punch. Think of, so I used to call the Anaconda choke the Nog roll because Nogueira hit it a couple times, I think, in the summer of like 2004. And I wouldn't call it the Nog female roll. It's the Nogueira roll, the Nog roll, the Anaconda choke. So, like, if you're going to say Superman did something, just because it's a woman, you wouldn't say Superwoman. Superwoman is a completely different entity altogether. Stop it. And then Anik even fell victim to it, going, nice sign of sportswomanship. No, that's still sportsmanship. I looked up the definition of sportsmanship. It says a person showing gratitude and grace within competition. I don't know. There's a lot of things in the commentary that I didn't really like tonight. We can talk about that a little bit later if you want. The phone number, again, for you, it is 323-364-2199. Again, 323-364-2199. Had some changes here in the studio. Going through a lot of changes here in the studio. A lot of changes here in the SRN. Trying to make it work. It's not all roses. It's difficult over here. But we're going to figure it out. If you're calling now, this is actually what's kind of cool about the new phone system. If you call now and you don't get in, you can either A, leave a message, or B, just the fact that you've called, I'll have a record of your missed call, and I will call you back. We can do that. So hopefully we'll do that here on this program. But again, 323-364-2199. It is 323-364-2199. That is dog 2199. 323-DOG-2199. All right, let's go round by round here in our main event. Valentina Shevchenko loses to Amanda Nunes tonight in our main event. Round one, I went 10-9, Amanda Nunes. Cormier was saying that, Nunes spars with guys all the time, and she holds her own, and sometimes she even wins rounds. That narrative needs to stop, too. Yes, she's a woman, and she trains an American top team, and she probably does have rounds where she betters training partners. But the whole narrative of she's a woman and she hangs with men. Stop it. To me, that is like a casual fan argument. If you bought this pay-per-view, you don't need to be convinced that women are comparable to men in mixed martial arts. You don't. We know that Amanda Nunes is the best 135-pound woman on the planet. She's fighting, and that's enough. All right, she wins some training rounds in the gym, sometimes against men. Okay, I don't like the narrative. It's annoying to me. The right cross, I thought on the first round was really on point for Nunes. I thought that's why she largely was winning the round. We saw the instance where Shevchenko blocked the punch with the hand open and had the dislocated finger, it looked like. Sounds like she took care of it in her corner. It was no worse for the wear. We did start to see the open fingers play a factor on the part of Nunes. She was reaching, she was pawing John McCarthy in her face, gave her about 4 warnings. I know that the whole new unified rules that were in place tonight in Edmonton are stated as such. A referee can take a point away if your fingers are out. That's great and all, but it's like every other rule where the referee can take a point away if your fingers are, or in any case, knee to the head, groin, anything. In mixed martial arts, you just get 4 warnings. You're always going to get 3 or 4 warnings. Putting it in black and white and having the language out there saying, oh, referees allowed to deduct points based on this, it really does nothing. I think we saw that tonight. John McCarthy didn't take a point away. Should he have taken a point? I don't think so. I didn't think it was necessary to take a point away from Amanda Nunes, but I just don't like hearing warning after warning after warning. It doesn't seem to me to really solve anything. A warning is impotent unless you actually do something about it. And should a point have been taken away? No. I mean, a high-stakes title fight like this where the judges were split, if a point was taken away from Nunes, we would have had a majority draw. Because 2 judges, let me see here. Let me get it correct for you. Tony Weeks, Sal D'Amato. D'Amato and David Theron had it for Amanda Nunes, both 48-47. You take away a point from Nunes, you have 47-47, and then you would have Tony Weeks with a 48-46 for Shevchenko. That would still equal a majority draw. So I'm not mad at John McCarthy by any means for not taking a point away. It just, the warnings are ridiculous. Because, I mean, McCarthy would have said those warnings before the quote-unquote rule change, regardless. But now we have Anik justifiably saying, well, the unified rules have changed. Now a referee can take away a point. A referee could have taken a point away for that to begin with. I mean, that's gouging the eyes. Just now that it's on paper really doesn't mean anything. So again, round one, I went with Nunes. Right cross was on point for her. Round two, I went Shevchenko here. It was very close. It wasn't a decisive round for Valentina Shevchenko, but she was a lot better at countering. I think she started to gauge the timing a bit better of Amanda Nunes. She was circling into the power side of Nunes throughout the contest. It didn't really matter. Nunes really never made her pay, but I didn't like the movement from Shevchenko in this fight. Also, too, she was constantly on the perimeter of the octagon, and when there's a close fight like tonight, you're at risk of losing a decision because you're on the outside of the octagon. You're on the what if it were Yama would be the orange track. If you're fighting there and constantly circling there and you're allowing your opponent, I think there's a stat. I think there's a fight metric stat. I don't know what it's called. But like if you control the center of the cage like Amanda Nunes did tonight, more often than not, the judges are going to award you the round. And Shevchenko never really laid claim to any real estate inside the octagon. And unfortunately for her, any round that was close that she was going to take, sometimes the judges are going to award it to your opponent because, I mean, the unified rules are judges will score the bout based on effective striking, grappling, aggression, and octagon control in that order. I tend to think that the least important criteria is really the most important, especially in even fights. When the striking and grappling exchanges are largely close and even, and I mean, there wasn't much grappling in this fight at all. But when the fight is very, very close, even if you're slightly winning the striking, if you're able to put your opponent on the perimeter of the cage, you're controlling the octagon. By the way, if you're on YouTube, you saw me use the air quotes. Head over to YouTube. We're on YouTube. Beatdown after the bell. Octagon control becomes the most important. And it's, again, the like aggression and octagon control tonight is what won Amanda Nunes the fight. You can look at the stats. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are. I don't have them in front of me. Periodically, we saw them through the broadcast. Nunes was more aggressive. Was she landing cleaner? To a certain extent, yes. But the strikes that she was landing weren't significantly cleaner than Valentina's to where you're like, oh, that's clearly better striking. Like the quality versus quantity, I didn't really think there was much difference. Valentina Shevchenko would like you to believe so. I didn't think there was much difference. And just because Nunes was able to control the real estate of the cage, I thought that she walked away with some of those close rounds. I pulled up MMAdecisions.com. I would like to see what rounds the judges did in fact score for Shevchenko. I had round 2 for Shevchenko, and then round 4, I believe, for Shevchenko. Round 3, Nunes still very aggressive. This is when we started to settle into the point where, okay, this is going to be a strategic fight. Nunes isn't going to fade the way that she did in the first bout. And for people that were saying Shevchenko was going to win this fight, this is where the tide was really going to have to change. And it didn't change. I thought it did in the 4th round, but it didn't change significantly. It wasn't the points of, if you look at the arc of the fight, it wasn't the downfall of Nunes by any means. Yes, her output did slow a bit in the fourth round, but it wasn't enough for Valentina really to take over. In the third round is where we got the third or fourth warning from John McCarthy about the open hand being pawed out at Valentina from Nunes. At the end of the third round, which I thought was a Nunes round, we saw Amanda really get excited. She was feeling it. I think that she knew that at that point, if she was going to fade at all to where it was going to lose her the fight, that's where it was going to be, and it wasn't happening, which I don't know what Shevchenko thought at that point, but she didn't break because in the fourth round, Valentina came out and did what she needed to do. I thought that her countering was a lot better in the fourth round. Nunes would get tagged, and then she would get super aggressive, and then we saw Shevchenko continue her countering from that point, but it wasn't enough to really take the momentum away from Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes, while she lost the fourth round, she wasn't losing really anything. Like, she dropped a round. She dropped the mini battle. She didn't get 10. She got 9 as far as points. And she never really relinquished anything else besides the 2 points. She didn't lose the momentum of the fight. And what I mean by that is you'll see fights where a fighter can be in control and they drop a round, and when they drop that round, they drop really all momentum in the contest. And Nunes, while she did lose 2 rounds, in my opinion, she never lost momentum. She really never lost control of the fight, even though she did lose rounds. And this, to me, was about the most dominant 48-47 you can find. I really didn't think that Nunes lost this fight. Yes, it was a round difference, but, I mean, this is one of those 48-47s where if we're on the schoolyard, like, I feel Amanda Nunes clearly won. There's no arguing, in my opinion. Did she win by a lot? No, but I'm not saying by any means was this a robbery or was this a super close fight. I really don't think so. I think Shevchenko won 2 rounds. Nunes won 3 rounds, and the rounds that she won were not necessarily like the most dominant of dominant rounds, but I didn't think there was any doubt. Again, probably the most decisive 48-47 you're going to find in a championship fight. 5th round, Nunes clearly took over. Shevchenko went for that headlock throw, missed it badly. I was actually talking to Ian McCall about this yesterday on a podcast that is going to drop coming up soon over at lineupmedia.fm. We talk about the evolution of mixed martial arts, men's mixed martial arts and women's mixed martial arts, and if women's MMA is significantly farther behind men's mixed martial arts. I don't think so. I don't think so by any means, but this is one thing that Julie Kedzie constantly brings up on our Invicta FC broadcasts, this head throw that women seem to go for all the time in MMA, and I'm not exactly sure why. I understand why maybe some fighters like a Rachel Ostovich would go for it, or a Ronda Rousey would go for it, or anyone that has significant experience in judo would go for that head throw or head and arm throw. But Shevchenko clearly thought that she had read the weight well enough of Nunes. And, I mean, Nunes was very aggressive coming forward. There are opportunities when a fighter comes forward like that to try to get a throw. But, I mean, the risk-reward, the ratio is just far too much. Now, Shevchenko was able to get back up to her feet after getting her back taken by Nunes, and then was ultimately taken down again a few moments later. But I just don't see why anyone would want to go for such a low efficiency rated move for just a gigantic risk. I mean, Amanda Nunes is not Demian Maia, but in the 5th round of a championship fight, I mean, again, if you're looking at the judges, if you're Sal D'Amato or David Theron, that right there could have been the deciding moment for you to give the round in the fight to Amanda Nunes. The head throw, the head and arm throw, it just needs to end. Knock it off. Not a good move. Very, very low efficiency there. Some bad blood post-fight. Shevchenko kind of pushing Nunes off. Nunes saying something. Are we going to get another fight? I mean, maybe at some point. I mean, I think Valentina Shevchenko is a fantastic fighter. The question is, where does she continue her UFC run? To me, you lost to the champion twice. We're going to crown a flyweight champion coming up later this year with the conclusion of The Ultimate Fighter. To me, Valentina Shevchenko is one fight away, because you got to have her have one fight, I think, in the flyweight division. Is one fight away from fighting the winner of The Ultimate Fighter, in my opinion, for the flyweight championship. There are a lot of questions about, other fighters fighting at 15 if they'll move up. There's some other questions about women's bantamweight fighters in the UFC if they'll move down. I think that Valentina Shevchenko is a serious player at 125. And as long as Amanda Nunes is the champion at 135, it makes the most sense for Shevchenko to move down. So I think that should be her next move. For Amanda Nunes, we'll see what's next for her. I'd have to look at the rankings and see, who is where. But, it was a good win for her. She solidifies the win that some people thought she didn't deserve against Shevchenko 18 months ago. But, I mean, it's pretty clear cut, and we'll see what's next for her. A lot was made about her not fighting Shevchenko earlier this year due to this sinusitis. Is that what it was? The sinus issue. She had that breathe right on all the way to the octagon. Didn't seem to be a problem. Amanda Nunes was vintage Amanda Nunes. Got it done. We'll see what happens for her. But, I mean, this is a solid title defense for herself. And she's got it at 135. She's got the belt. She's got the skills. And I think she'll be a favorite against pretty much anybody in the division. A gigantic favorite against everybody? No. But I think she'll be the favorite nonetheless. So, again, my scorecard, 48-47 for Amanda Nunes. She retains. Split decision goes her way tonight in Edmonton. Let's take a look at the co-main event. Neil Magny kind of got outclassed by the former UFC lightweight champion, Rafael dos Anjos. Magny, when he was walking to the cage tonight, Rogan and Daniel Cormier were talking about how he's an overachiever. I mean, what is an overachiever? Like, overachiever is a word for someone who, in my opinion, in mixed martial arts, just wins fights that they're underdogs in. Neil Magny, I don't think is an overachiever. I think Neil Magny is highly disrespected at times and doesn't have a lot of steam behind him. And then he fights guys that have been either shined or have been, put in the spotlight that have done well, and then he ends up beating them. Like, some of the biggest wins for Neil Magny, Johnny Hendricks, Hector Lombard, Kelvin Gastelum. Those are all great opponents, don't get me wrong, but he beat Johnny Hendricks at the downfall of Hendricks' career. Got past Hector Lombard and beat Kelvin Gastelum. And I, in hindsight, I don't think that any of those fights are gigantic upsets. I don't think that Neil Magny beating those guys is saying he overachieved. I think that he was just undervalued and underrated in those fights. Neil Magny's very good. Unfortunately for him tonight, he didn't look very good. Rafael dos Anjos gets it done with ease. And now we're all of a sudden looking at RDA going, all right, former UFC lightweight champion, now, quote unquote, in that proverbial mix at 170 pounds. John Anik brought this up on his podcast earlier this week. They do a show basically saying this is what happened and why this fight was made, and this is everything that was leading up to it. If you don't know, Rafael dos Anjos essentially was offered a fight with Tyron Woodley at UFC 214 should Demian Maia not have been able to take the fight from the quick turnaround with the Jorge Masvidal fight. So, to Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby, Rafael dos Anjos is already a number 1, number 2 contender at 170 pounds, which with a win tonight over Neil Magny in the manner that he got it done, I don't hate it. I mean, I'm not ready to put a number 1 next to RDA's name when it comes to contendership, but he did really, really well. And I know a win over Tarek Safadine and Neil Magny isn't enough really to go, oh, he's the next big thing at 170 pounds, but he's definitely someone that if he fights for a title in the next 2 or 3 fights, I'm not mad at it by any means. I'd like to see him fight a Masvidal. I'm curious what happens when Dos Anjos is forced to stand with someone that has more reach than him and has good enough takedown defense to prevent, RDA from playing his game. Neil Magny has a large reach. It's 80 inches, I believe. And looking at Dos Anjos, his reach comes in at about 73. So, actually, no, 71 inches. So, looking at some of the other major players at welterweight, Robbie Lawler has a 74-inch reach. UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley has a 74-inch reach. That's only 3 inches longer than Dos Anjos. It'd be interesting to see RDA fight Tyron Woodley because I think Tyron would want to stand on the outside and trade with him. I don't think Dos Anjos takes him down. I don't think Woodley is interested in taking him down. On the feet, it is interesting, but Woodley still wouldn't enjoy a gigantic reach advantage. On the feet, that fight would be very interesting. Woodley trying to stay on the outside, dart in and out with punches. Can't get too aggressive in the clinch or get comfortable because if he does hit the floor, I mean, being on the ground with Rafael dos Anjos, there's a bit of a liability there. I mean, RDA is very good. Neil Magny knows that better than anybody. I mean, beautiful arm triangle choke, gets it done. I'm curious what you think. Because looking at Dos Anjos in the UFC's welterweight division, I mean, it's clear Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby believe that he has something to offer the division if they're already contemplating giving him a title fight at UFC 214. I mean, he was penned in. It's just, if Demian Maia can't make it, it's Rafael dos Anjos. It's just whether or not he deserves it. And trust me, deserving things, especially deserving things because of your merits and what you've accomplished on paper in the UFC, means little. Means little to nothing. But Dos Anjos could find himself in a title fight in the next year, especially if he gets another win or two. I would like to see him fight a Robbie Lawler. I would like to see him fight someone, in the top 3 as far as contenders go before he gets a title fight. I would like to see what happens if he's forced to stand in trade. I mean, he got pieced up by Eddie Alvarez. Now, looking at the Alvarez fight, there's a lot to be made about RDA's weight cut. And obviously he's moved up, and it appears that he is better at fighting at 170. I mean, at least the rigors in his body when it comes to the weight cut is not as taxing. But I'm curious what happens when he fights the Masvidals, the Lawlers, and should he ever get in there, a Tyron Woodley. I don't know. I mean, he's not going to be able to do what he did tonight against Tyron Woodley. He's not going to be able to get a takedown. He's not going to be able to completely run roughshod like that in the grappling department. I don't think, personally. He could against someone like Jorge Masvidal or Robbie Lawler, but he's going to have to go through hell to get on the inside. And I'm curious what it looks like if Dos Anjos is forced to trade with those guys for a round and a half. And I'm also curious what RDA looks like after 10 minutes at 170. I mean, yeah, he's not taxing his body in the weight cut, but I mean, he is carrying more weight. He will, feel that in the grappling exchanges. What will his cardio look like at 170 in this third round? I don't know. I'm curious. What I do know is that tonight he looked fantastic. And Neil Magny is no joke, overachiever or not, to get him out of there in the manner that he did. I mean, it was quick. It was 3 minutes, 43 seconds of round number one. RDA getting Neil Magny out with a arm triangle choke. Solid stuff. Performance of the night for me, we'll take a break and we'll get the actual performance of the night info for you. But performance of the night, it doesn't get any better than Henry Cejudo and what he did against Wilson Hayes. My goodness. Cejudo, the former, well, I guess, once an Olympian, always an Olympian, but a gold medalist in wrestling. Henry Cejudo looked like a guy that was able to completely wipe away the memory of the drubbing that was put on him by Demetrius Johnson. Like, this gentleman tonight was able to show that at 30 years old, there's still a long, bright future and road ahead of Cejudo in mixed martial arts. I really enjoyed what he was able to accomplish tonight, mixing it up on the feet. I love his front headlock, the way he was able to snap Wilson Hayes down and really put it all together. Just fantastic stuff. And to get the finish like he did, I mean, that's... Is he going to beat Demetrius Johnson? No. But is he going to dispatch some contenders and maybe earn his way back to Demetrius? Yeah, absolutely. I liked what we saw from Henry Cejudo tonight. We'll find out if it was worth an extra 50 grand. To me, if I was writing the checks out, Henry Cejudo, it is yours. Alir Latifi. He defeated Tyson Pedro. Unanimous decision goes the way of the Alexander Gustafsson training partner. Looking at Pedro, it was brought up tonight on the broadcast that he is a black belt in Japanese jiu-jitsu. What does that mean? I mean, I know what it means, but how many Japanese jiu-jitsu players are there in mixed martial arts? Plenty of Brazilian jiu-jitsu players in mixed martial arts, but I've rolled with some people in Japanese jiu-jitsu, and it is definitely not BJJ. It's the same art, but it is definitely different. If you are a Japanese jiu-jitsu player, give me a ring, because I would love to try to figure out what it means to be a black belt in Japanese jiu-jitsu. I mean, I'm not trying to knock it by any means, but there are the core martial arts in mixed martial arts. By that I mean wrestling, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing. And then there are the traditional martial arts that they work, but they only work for a few people. There are only a few karate fighters that can effectively take techniques from karate and really make it work. There are very few taekwondo black belts that make taekwondo work. Judo is definitely risen over the years. But there are a lot of traditional martial arts that you can be a standout in. And when have we ever been, oh man, he's a black belt in Hapkido. Okay. What does that mean? I'm curious. I'm curious what Japanese jiu-jitsu really looks like, and if there are techniques that are really honestly easily implemented into mixed martial arts. Brazilian jiu-jitsu for sure, but you don't hear, oh, he's a black belt in Japanese jiu-jitsu. You don't hear that thrown out all that often. Jeremy Stephens, my goodness. Wow. I know who the fook this guy is. Really good performance for him tonight when he defeated Gilbert Melendez. A unanimous decision goes the way of Little Heathen. The Iowa native gets past the former Strikeforce champ. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the way that Jared Villel handled the leg injury to Gilbert Melendez. I'm curious to see what is actually wrong with Gilbert Melendez's leg. Is it broken? I don't think so. I mean, again, I don't know. But I got to believe that if he has a broken shin, could he have a hairline fracture? Yeah, for sure. But is it to the point where the fight should have been stopped? I don't know. That's up to, I guess, the referee and the doctor. Jared Villel, though, it was interesting the way that he handled bringing the doctor in after the first round. He waited a very long time to bring in the doctor and actually told the corners, hey, after the minute respite where you're, tended to by your seconds, I'm going to go bring in the doctor. I don't have a problem with doing that. It just seems weird that he vocalized it. There's a rule in mixed martial arts where you're not allowed 5 minutes due to an eye poke, but as a referee, it's good to sort of play the game. It's good if you're a fighter to play the game to get as much time as possible. You get poked in the eye. I believe it was Eve Edwards that explained it to me. It's like if you get poked in the eye, what you do is the referee's going to stop. He's going to say, hey, can you see? And you just kind of walk around a little bit and you don't say anything. And the ref goes, hey, can you see? And then you as a fighter go, what? Can't hear you. Can you see? Huh? Oh, hang on 1 second. So now we've added another 15 seconds. Like, as a referee, you should take time. You should go put the fighter in the neutral corner. Go walk over to the opponent. Say, hey, I know it was an accident. Watch your fingers. Make sure you don't have them extended. Can you hear me? Okay, you got it? You're good? Okay, perfect. I'm going to walk back over. Hey, can you see? What? You got to play that game. Vocalizing, hey, I'm going to wait for your 60-second respite, and then I'm going to bring in the doctor. It just seemed weird. Did Jared Villel do anything wrong? No. But maybe it's because I'm a fan of baseball. But I feel like as a official, you can't vocalize what you're doing sometimes. Like if a catcher takes a foul ball to the shoulder, you don't just stand there and wait for him to feel better. You walk the new baseball out to the pitcher, take some time, walk back. It just seemed like, if I was Jeremy Stephens, or if I was in the corner of Jeremy Stephens, I'm going, why are you waiting? Bring the doctor in now. Why are you going to afford him any more time? That doesn't seem right. I'm getting nitpicky here, but just my thoughts. Gilbert Melendez's shin looked disgusting. I wouldn't have been upset had the doctor or Jared Villel stopped the contest there, because It comes down to whether or not there is a structural, injury where it is unsafe for the combatant to compete. And honestly, when you see a knot that big, you don't know what's going on. You don't know if the leg is broken. The only way you're going to find that out is an x-ray. Melendez, he continued, but he definitely dropped down. I didn't like what Jared Villel was saying, and Joe Rogan brought it up as well. Villel said, hey, you need to stand on your feet. You can't drop to your butt, and, you got to defend yourself. Well, dropping to your seat and encouraging a fighter to come down, while it is, the definition of passivity, which a referee can do a variety of things when it comes to that, telling a fighter you can't do this or I'm going to stop the fight, no. I can go to the floor all I want to. You can tell me I need to stand back up. You can threaten to take a point away. You can threaten to stop the fight. But you can't tell me I can't go to the floor. It just seemed odd that he was saying that. You have to stop a fight for not intelligently defending yourself. If you're getting kicked in the leg and you can't check it or it just hurts, going to the floor and inviting your opponent to come down, that's a hell of a defense. That's a great defense, in my opinion. Melendez, he didn't take that route. He did the best he could. But tonight belonged to Jeremy Stephens, to say the absolute least. Really solid stuff there for Jeremy. What's next for Gilbert Melendez? I don't know. This is his first time back at featherweight in a good while. I'm curious on where his head is at. Melendez, I think, is one of the greatest lightweights of all time. Fighting now, he didn't have a performance that indicated to me that he has much left. I don't think he's going to be a force at 145 pounds. Jeremy Stephens is a guy that prime Gilbert Melendez beats, and beats handedly, in my opinion. I'd like to see Gil fight one more time, whether it be at 45 or 55. I don't care. Sounds like the weight cut was good for him. So if he wants to continue fighting at 45, sure. He needs to win his next fight. He absolutely needs to win his next fight. He would be a guy, though, in my opinion, that... Actually, I don't know. I would say that the UFC wouldn't want to cut him so he could go to Bellator. But at the same time, does the UFC really lose anything by allowing him to leave? I don't know. I don't think so. But as long as Gilbert Melendez is fighting, if I'm Dana White and company, I'd like him to fight in the octagon. I think he is one of the greatest of all time, so why allow him to go to Bellator and have that shine and, give credibility to Bellator? Obviously, Melendez has a relationship with Scott Coker, being his former Strikeforce champion. There may be some demand for Melendez in Rizin. I don't know. I don't think there would be a lot, but I think that if UFC did cut Melendez and Gil wanted to fight, Coker would probably sign him. So, that's one thing that the UFC does have to think about constantly. Sam Sicilia is fighting in Bellator. Anybody that the UFC cuts, if they want to fight, Bellator's probably going to make an offer. And Coker says that, money's not an issue. If they want to go out and get somebody, they'll go out and get him. Gilbert Melendez, to me, is a guy that they would go out and get. So, but I would like to see Gil fight one more time, at least in the UFC. I guess stick with 45, but we'll see. Ketlin Vieira, my goodness, big win over Sarah McMahon. Arm triangle, ends the contest, 4 minutes, 16 seconds of round number 2. I thought that McMahon was going to be able to get out of this submission. She was close to the fence. I thought she was going to be able to get a foot on the fence and try to push off. Vieira never got out of half. Generally, you don't finish that choke without getting to side. But she did. She stopped the silver medalist in Sarah McMahon. Huge win for Ketlin Vieira. Sarah Moraes victorious over Ashley Evans-Smith. Beautiful armbar ends that fight at 2 minutes 51 seconds of round number 1. Rick Glenn got a dominant, decisive decision. I think one of the scorecards were 30-23. Rick Glenn defeats Gavin Tucker. Alex White victorious over Mitch Clark. Mitch Clark takes off the gloves, leaves him inside the octagon. He retires tonight in his home country of Canada. Arjan Bular victorious over Luis Enrique. Unanimous decision goes the way of Bular. Cajun Johnson opened up the evening with a knockout of Adriano Martins. The end comes 49 seconds of round number 3. All right. Those are my thoughts on the card. We welcome yours. What's the phone number? 323-364-2199. That's 323-DOG-2199. If you want to get in, I'd appreciate the phone call. If it doesn't work, leave a message. I'll call you back. We're going to try to do that at least. Again, we have a new phone system here in studio. It's not ideal, but we'll make it work. We got to make it work. So, again, 323-DOG-2199. That's 323-364-2199. You can also email me if that's not working, TJ at Sherdog.com. That is TJDESANTIS at Sherdog.com. And you can get at me on Twitter as well, at TJ DeSantis. Wish we had Jordan Breen on the show tonight. I want to make sure we get to some calls. I was not able to connect with Jordan, do some testing, so that's why I'm here flying solo. But I appreciate you listening, or watching for that matter. We are on YouTube tonight. You can find it at the radio player at Sherdog.com, or just go to YouTube, type in Beatdown After the Bell. You should be able to find it there. We will take a break. We will come back. More right here on the SRN. This is Beatdown After the Bell of UFC 215. Nunes versus Shevchenko 2.
Now back to the best late stoppage in mixed martial arts. It's Beatdown After the Bell on the Sherdog Radio Network.
Looking to maximize your sports betting bankroll? Then sign up with betonline.ag today to claim a 50% bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code Sherdog, and up to $2,500 worth of sportsbook free plays will be credited to your account instantly. Once you're in on the action, you'll see firsthand why betonline.ag receives an A grade. Bonuses on every qualifying deposit, the earliest opening odds in the industry, state-of-the-art live betting software, the highest parlay and teaser payouts on the planet. Plus, you're getting odds on football, hoops, baseball, MMA, boxing, and just about every other sport. That's just a small sample of what is waiting for you at betonline.ag. And thanks to a large list of banking options, including credit cards and Bitcoin, getting your account set up only takes a few minutes. Most importantly, when it comes to getting paid, your winnings will always be delivered to you on time. Remember to score your 50% bonus. Just use the promo code Sherdog. Sign up at betonline.ag today. Because you can.
Dr. Smith, please report to the line. Dr. Smith, please report to the line.
Okay, Smith.
As heard on the Sherdog Radio Network. Odin Smith. Odins.
Scribing beats for artists such as Hajlo.
Oslo.
Whitlow assassin, N.O. and Smith. You wake up and find your career's over with. You can bet when it be on, I go to limit. Real recognized on the strength and immovable object. Money, money, all they talking about. Money, money in my savings account. Without me, you is out. Money talk, quit running your mouth.
Postal.
Crash like you belong to Grossy. Like Lanny Coughlin and the G's who all know me. Pretty mean features that me, sure baloney. I can't figure you out like which takers phone.
Get your fix now at MySpace.com/.
Introducing the new album from Attention, Through the Wire. It's available now for free. That's right, free. Visit attention.bandcamp.com to download Through the Wire. That's attention.bandcamp.com.
Should we say goodbye with each other?
The new album from Attention, Through the Wire. It's free. No strings, no catch, just free. Visit attention.bandcamp.com to download the album now. Through the Wire, the new album from Attention, available free. Attention.bandcamp.com.
No, what are you doing? Don't tap out. No. Come on, man. That was phony, man. That was fake. You know what? Screw a pay-per-view. In the crib with Oden Smith betting on the fights, losing all my loot. A setup, he had to scam me out of my cream, cause he's pals with the Beatdown and Jordan Green. Every time after the bell, he on the Dell. For recaps on who tapped and lost his belt, ill comebacks and fight stats, analyzing every match. The good rap, call up and chat with the Sherdogs who got it on Smash and Lock. Bet the bank, who's messing with that? Pashik Wop, thanks. This is it for my MMA fix. I like them offer shows less than Mike Ridley, like the Clips. And TJ be live in Menage 3 ways. Maybe not, but he still keep it blazing hot. Show Oslo, myspace.com/LORESO. Let me get my money back. Yeah. TJ and Jordan, take that. Yo, Mike Fredley, what up? Yo, tell him give me my money back.
We're back here on Beatdown After the Bell. TJ DeSantis flying solo. We are recapping UFC 215. It saw Amanda Nunes defeat Valentina Shevchenko via split decision tonight in Edmonton. Rogers Place was the venue. Looking at bonuses, looks like Rafael dos Anjos picked up a $50,000 performance of the night bonus for a submission over Neil Magny. We also saw Henry Cejudo pick up another performance of the night bonus. And I like this one. Jeremy Stevens and Gilbert Melendez also handed out performance of the night bonuses for their effort in the pay-per-view headliner. Not mad at that by any means. Gilbert Melendez, very gutsy performance, continuing with that leg injury. I mean, it's very hard to say really what it was. It could have been just really bad swelling, or he could have a cracked shin. I'm not exactly sure. All right, phone lines are open. 323-364-2199. It is 323-364-2199. It's difficult to say what is actually happening with the phones. I've never done this before, so we're trying something new tonight, and hopefully it won't backfire. I know we've missed a couple calls here. There's not even like a hold system anymore, so you got to bear with me. I do have a record of everyone that called that has not made it through, so now I'm going to just try to call them back. So, yes. Let's see here. Does this work? How do I do this? I'm going to try to do this. See, I don't even know how to do this. I tried to test this thing earlier, but it wasn't working. Bear with me. All right. Why can't I just call you back? All right, so I got to do this. This is great radio, right? Control C, make a call. I'm going to do this, Control V. We'll figure this out in the future, I promise. I don't have this issue all the time. Phone. blah, 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 blah. And then, okay. See what happens here. Start a call. Turn off the browser's pop-up block. I already did this nonsense. All right, maybe we're not taking calls tonight. I tried. I'm learning this new phone system. All right, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do something else here. I'm going to try to figure this out because I want to get through to the people. Beatdown After the Bell has always been a show of chatting with the listeners, and I'm a little bit behind it. Like I said, we're going through some changes. What did Brock Lesnar say about chicken salad? We're going to do that here. You just got to give me a minute. Let's see here. I got to find a song to play. Bum, 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 bum. What do we want to do here? All right, this is what we're going to do. Play a song. We'll come back. And hopefully, I'll get the phones to work. Hopefully. So, stick around. And Beatdown After the Bell will continue. Fingers crossed. Here's Prowler. This is Holy Most. You're listening to the best late stoppage in mixed martial arts. It's Beatdown After the Bell on the SRN.
Don't you know, I think I've seen that holy dog rolling around from coast to coast. So far she was that holy dog. Oh, now don't you know my brain gets thrown out through my nose. So I don't I want you to impose now. As I walk around my door saying, are you so think I'm the show? Sweet so thin at my core, my mountains come together. Oh, don't you know now? Don't you know now? Here we go now, here we go now.
Oh, yeah. It is Beatdown. After the bell. Sherdog Radio Network, TJ DeSantis flying solo following the conclusion of UFC 215. Amanda Nunes, still your UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion. She defeats Valentina Shevchenko via split decision this evening. All right. Now I think I got the phones working. But now I got to call people back. So hopefully it works. If this doesn't work, we're going to call it a night. But let's see what happens here. I think it's working. All right. Now we're calling somebody. Who? I don't know. See what happens. Wait for it. Taking a minute. If you want to call us, 323-364-2199. Maybe it's just going to do this. Oh, wait. Hold on. Apparently I have to click OK. And now I need to click Allow. All right. Ooh. Hey, it's ringing.
Hello?
Hi, this is TJ DeSantis with the Sherdog Radio Network. I missed your call. Welcome to Beatdown
Wow,
After the
hey,
Bell.
man.
Who's this?
It's Joe from Alberta. How are you?
Hey, man.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Right. I'm feeling good.
Good.
I wanted to talk to you about Gilbert Melendez versus Jeremy Stephens.
Sure, let's talk.
Right. So I tried to get this question out there to I asked Jason Floyd, I asked Luke Thomas, I asked everybody, I asked Robin Black. Nobody was willing to talk about this because
Robin Black, your fellow Canadian, didn't even want to talk about it. Come on, Mr. Black.
Listen, I'm telling you, I asked everybody that was available. Nobody wanted to talk about this, and I guess okay, you can't monetize this because nobody other than hardcore fans care. They don't care about it. But so what I wanted to ask you is so Jeremy Stephens, he won, and it was convincing. And the question I want to ask you is does this fight, are we going to look back on Gilbert Melendez's career in a different way because he lost to Jeremy Stephens?
I don't think so. I mean,
I think so.
No,
I think so.
Let me.
Right? What are they going to do? Are they going to put him up against Gomi next? How can they? What's next for him? Who can?
John, there comes a point in a fighter's career where we all know that they're past their prime, and whatever performance happens after that trajectory and that arc starts to go down, that those performances are not as telling as they once would have been in their MMA career. And Gilbert Melendez is there. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's coming off of a steroid violation, very long time away from active competition, and fighting in a weight class that he hasn't fought in since fighting in Shudo. Now, for my money, Gilbert Melendez's legacy is being one of the most dominant lightweights in his prime outside of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Now, was he a complete bust coming to the UFC? No. I mean, I thought he was going to beat Anthony Pettis. I thought that Gilbert Melendez had what it took to be the UFC's lightweight champion. What we found out is Gilbert Melendez, at this point in his career, is not what he once was. Therefore, at this point, despite being one of the best lightweights of all time, his glory days are behind him, and I don't expect much from him going forward. Now, with that said, it's on the backside of his career. The trajectory, and we've reached that arc, and we're going down. So now, I just don't really think that anything that he does for better or for worse, unless he pulls off some sort of 6-7 fight win streak at 45 and then becomes the UFC's featherweight champion, which is slim to nil when it comes to odds. Gilbert Melendez really won't be doing much of anything that is consequential to the landscape of 145 pounds or really, honestly, to his legacy. Now, if he goes and does the BJ Penn and fights for, 8 or 9 more fights and doesn't win a single one, then maybe it tarnishes his legacy a little bit. But at the same time, we're still going to say Gilbert Melendez in his prime was one of the best fighters at 155. Just he didn't have it when he finally got to the UFC's octagon, and he probably should have left his gloves in the cage a few fights before whenever he finally does.
Yeah, for sure. But, do you want to see him, they're both in the same weight class. What do you feel about, BJ Penn versus Gilbert Melendez? And I'll take this off air. Please expand on that. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.
Appreciate the fight. Let the record show, John, that not only did I answer your questions, I called you. Called you in Alberta. I wonder if he was in the house tonight in Edmonton. Gilbert Melendez versus BJ Penn. I don't hate that fight. At this point, I still favor Gilbert by a pretty good margin. But if BJ Penn is going to fight and Gilbert Melendez is going to fight for that matter, they should be fighting each other. That fight makes sense. They were both dominant at the same time. And, the winner, what does it say about the... unfortunately, Gilbert Melendez versus BJ Penn 7 years ago, super exciting. I'd be pumped for that. Now, still pretty exciting. But what does the result mean? Not much. What does it mean? Literally, not much. When you walk out of an event, you always think about winners and losers and what does this fight mean about the landscape of the division. What would a fight between Gilbert Melendez and BJ Penn say about the landscape of 145? Nothing. Nothing. It's a nice co-main event or main event of an FS1 card, though. I don't want it on pay-per-view. I don't even want it as the opener on pay-per-view. But if the UFC is forced to put out as much content as they are, that's a fantastic FS1 main event. It's a fantastic UFC Fight Pass main event. I like it. Even if they wanted to really stack a card, that would be the go home fight on FS1 before a pay-per-view. I like it. Not mad at it. What does it say about the division? What does it say about Penn? What does it say about Melendez? Nothing. Just a fun fight that would happen, and we'd talk about it. And maybe fans of Penn or fans of Melendez would argue that it says something about their overall career and legacies, but I don't think so. The only time I think a fighter really tarnishes their legacy is when they're clearly past their prime and are going out there to make money. And first off, BJ Penn doesn't need to make money. BJ Penn goes out there to fight because that's what BJ Penn does. I don't think Gilbert Melendez needs to make money either. I think he has a very established gym in the El Nino Training Center. I think that this would just be a fight to have because they're two of the greatest of all time. But that's it. Don't read into it any more than just that. There's no reason to. All right. I want to get a phone call because obviously I called John back But I want to get a phone call if we can. See if anything, I just want to see if we can take the damn thing on the air. I'm gonna try to call it myself. See if it works. 323-364-2199. Somebody call me. 323-364-2199. I'm calling now. You know what? It's not going to work for me. I don't think. I think it's going to be like, you've reached whatever. That's my thing. Well, it's ringing. It's not doing anything, though. New phone system. It's not ideal to test it out on the air, but I had it working earlier. Now it's not working. I don't know. We tried. We'll get this all sorted out. I got some new things coming up as well. I tweeted about it. It's called Between Rounds Radio. Little side service that I'm putting out here. Like I said, we're going through some changes here at the Sherdog Radio Network, and there are things that I want to do beyond the capabilities of this room. And I'm going to pursue those. I'm going to try to put out a daily show called The Daily Wrap, where we'll take the news from yesterday and cut it down, condense it, give you everything that you need from the day before in a nice little podcast that you can digest on your way to work, when you're working out, so you can get caught up on the latest news. I think we're going to do the Collapsed MMA podcast, where we have a humorous take on historical MMA events. I'm flirting with the idea of hanging out with Sherpup, myself and Jeff Sherwood, doing a little podcast. I think Mike Fridley's going to be involved. Try to do a lot of stuff. And hopefully you'll give it a listen. It's on Patreon. Well, it will be launching on Patreon. Patreon.com/between rounds. Just kind of giving you some content between rounds of the SRN. We ask that you pay $4 a month. We're going to do a lot of stuff for free. Honestly, the reason for Between Rounds and the reason for the price tag is I want to do some stuff that honestly we don't have the means to do right now. And if you're able to help us out, throw us a couple bucks. It can be $4. It can be $40. We ask $4 minimum, but honestly, it's a MSRP. Give whatever you can, so I can give it to the people that help out. If I have a little bit to put in my pocket, that'd be great. But no matter what happens here in the future, I've done this now for 13 years. And I'm not stopping. Again, no matter what happens anywhere. Whether it's here on the Sherdog Radio Network, as it has been for 12 years, or Between Rounds, not stopping. And anything that you can do to help keep everything alive, we'd appreciate it. Between Rounds, patreon.com/between rounds. It'll be fun. Collapsed MMA was a heck of a lot of fun on the marathon, which I would love it if you check it out. It's available now. SoundCloud, all access panel at Sherdog.com, Sherdog.com/radio, iTunes Music Store and podcasts. But seriously, patreon.com/between rounds. We're going to launch it before the end of the month. I'm trying not to get too deep into everything. But just trying to do some things. And things have gotten hard. That's really all I have to say. I don't want to say any more than that. I don't want to have to say any more than that. But they are what they are, and we'll keep it going, right? A lot of MMA headed your way. I'll be back on Monday. Myself and Anthony Walker live on YouTube, on the SRN. Hopefully we'll have this damn phone situation taken care of. Love to take your calls. In the meantime, you know how to get in touch with me, right? TJ DeSantis at Sherdog.com. If for ever any reason that email doesn't work, DeSantisMMA at gmail.com. DESANTIS MMA at gmail.com. You can get at me on Twitter at TJ DeSantis. And knock on wood, we'll be back for Beatdown After the Bell very soon. Like I said, I don't plan on going anywhere. And even if I have to, between rounds, patreon.com/between rounds. Pretty much does it for Beatdown After the Bell. Hopefully you enjoyed UFC 215. I'll be back wrapping it all up more with Anthony Walker coming up on Monday. Jordan Breen Show will return on Wednesday. No MMA Evolution. Might have to pick that up on Between Rounds. Patreon.com/between rounds. Pretty much does it. Appreciate you listening. Staying up late with the Sherdog Radio Network. Pretty much does it. Back on Monday. You just got Beatdown After the Bell on the Sherdog Radio Network. Take care.
Beatdown is a TJ DeSantis production and is property of the Sherdog Radio Network. Its content is intended for private use only.